Hello, good afternoon from me, John Suchet from Classic FM, and I'm delighted to be in Facebook's London headquarters. And this is actually the first time that Classic FM has ever come live to you from Facebook's London headquarters. We are delighted to be here. I'm particularly pleased to be here with a superstar young musician of the moment, Sheku Kanneh-Mason. I should point out, by the way, he's not really 7 feet tall. He's sitting on several cushions because he's going to be demonstrating his wonderful instrument to us. But Sheku, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for giving us your time. It's a cold, wet afternoon in London. We're being watched probably around the world. Did you expect that sort of thing to happen this soon in your career?
Definitely not. It's been amazing since winning the BBC Young Musician of the Year competition. And it's just been so different and really exciting. I'm really enjoying it.
Now, last year was the year that you really came into the public gaze because out of the blue, you got a call from BAFTA. Is that right? Tell me exactly how that happened.
Yeah, I was amazingly honoured to be able to play at the BAFTAs, and I was asked to play in the part of the ceremony when we kind of remember the people in the film industry who have died over the past year. So that was just such a special part of the evening, and to be playing Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, which was such a special song at that time.
Yes,
as well.
I remember watching it and thinking, how is one solo musician going to carry this? The song is amazing, but I thought it needs a voice, we need a choir. But no, it's absolutely extraordinary. Just describe those few minutes to me.
Yeah, I think the cello has such. I mean, I would say this as a cellist, but it has such an ability to really speak and sing on its own. And if you look at the solo Bach suites, that's an example of how it's done. And yeah, it was just such an amazing feeling to be on the stage in the Royal Albert Hall for my first time and performing in front of actors that I really admire. So it was amazing.
Lovely. Well, I'm going to be asking you in a moment to demonstrate that wonderful instrument to us. But on the subject of the BAFTAs, you've been invited back this year, the first time a musician's ever been invited back 2 years running. So next month, I think it's at the Royal Albert Hall. You're performing again, but you won't be alone this time. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm of course really excited to be coming back, and this time with some of my siblings, which will be really lovely because I love performing with my siblings, and so it'll be really special again, I hope.
And you are, I should just point out, 7 of you, and you're all talented musicians. How on earth did that ever happen? Because your parents, I think I'm right in saying, they're not particularly musical. I mean, they're not performers themselves, are they?
No, yeah, my parents, they learnt instruments at school and stuff, and they're really interested in music, but went on to do other things. And they started my elder sister on the piano when she was about 4 or 5, I think. And then we kind of just saw what she was doing, got really excited, and followed on from that, I guess.
Amazing. Well, we're going to hear you on the cello in just a second, but I should just point out it's not going to just be me asking the questions. If you're watching us on Facebook, you'll see below the picture there's a comment box, so please do send in your questions for me to put to Sheku while we're broadcasting here from Facebook's headquarters in London. But now, Sheku, tell us about this instrument. I believe it's, 400 years old or thereabouts?
Yeah, it was made in 1610 by the Amati brothers. And so, yeah, it survived kind of 400 years and it's still in a wonderful condition. And it's just such a special instrument to play.
You're its guardian for the time being.
Yes,
I like to think of it like that.
Exactly.
So many great players before you, and presumably in the distant future as well.
I'm sure,
but how does it feel? What does it feel like to hold an instrument that's been performed on by so many great cellists?
Yeah, I think it's just so special, and what this instrument allows me to do is I have a sound in my head that I really want to create, and playing on an instrument like this just allows me to really achieve that sound in a much easier way.
Okay, now tell me something about that sound. What is the sound you're trying to create? And give me an example of how you set about trying to create it on the cello.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what part of the music you're playing, but I think what's wonderful about stringed instruments is the range of different colours that you can really get from an instrument like this. So from the really soft kind of to quite a... And what I changed there is difference in contact point, bow speed, pressure, and this...
Because your finger on the fingerboard is in exactly the same position.
Same position, yeah. It's just there's so many different combinations of things that you can change, and that's one of the most exciting things about.
I know even at your level you do a lot of practicing. What's the first thing you do when you pick up the cello at home and you settle in for a practice session? What's the first thing you do?
The first thing I do is tune. So I'd get my strings in tune. Luckily it's already in tune, so I won't have to demonstrate that now. And then usually I'll start with scales. And
Give me an example, go on.
Just sort of... and I practice scales for many different reasons. So there's practicing to be able to play scales, practicing them for tone, for bow control, bow speed, intonation, and I try to adapt my scales to what I'm playing in my pieces.
Interestingly, I remember as a young musician myself, that's an overstatement. As a young boy learning to play an instrument and not really getting on very well, scales you dreaded. They're boring. Why have I got to play scales? But they're not, are they?
Yeah, I mean, you can think of them as boring, but if you really become creative with how you practice your scales.
Go on, show me.
So, for example, I'm playing the Elgar Concerto at the moment. I'm learning it, and the second movement is sort of. So to practice that stroke, I would do my scales. So I'm practicing multiple different things with just the same scale pattern.
What advice, if we've got a young cellist watching us now thinking, how can I get to be as good as Sheku? What's the first bit of advice you'd give him?
I would say practice is so important, and there's really no kind of shortcut for putting in those hours, and I think that's the same for whatever you want to do. And then I always used to, and I still do, listen to lots of music really all the time, and that's the best way to really engage with what you're doing.
And not just classical.
Not just classical, just whatever. I just like to listen to great music, so that ranges from Bob Marley to Shostakovich to Beethoven to jazz and klezmer music. So there's really, I just enjoy really listening to music.
And that's had an effect on what you've chosen for your new album. We'll come to Sheku's new album a little bit later in this interview. But right now, let's go to some questions, because we've already had some questions in. And Sheku, I have a question here from Year 3 at Jessup Primary School. I wonder, could we hear that question now?
James from the CBSO. How did it feel to perform in your hometown of Nottingham with the CBSO?
Yeah, we know that, in fact, on that question, it's your new album, which we'll come to. You've recorded it with the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra. How did it feel to perform with this world-class orchestra? That's the question there from Ollie James from the CBSO.
It was really amazing to perform with the CBSO. It was just... it's such an experience kind of being in front of such a wonderful orchestral sound, and playing one of my favourite concertos was really amazing. And Ollie mentioned that I played in Nottingham, my hometown, which was so exciting for me, because the concert hall there is not just an amazing concert hall, but somewhere I've watched so many amazing concerts in. And so it was so special to be back there.
And in fact, one of the tracks on your new album, which I actually played on my Classic FM show this morning, is you. I think it's klezmer music. It's an Israeli piece, and you're playing with the entire cello section of the CBSO. How must that? I mean, massed ranks of cellos, wonderful mellow sound.
Yeah, I think there's something really special about a group of cellos that that's very different from maybe a violin ensemble or any other instrument. I think the cello, because it has such a range of different sounds and registers, it just works so well, and we had such fun working together and recording this beautiful music, so yeah.
Lovely. Well, I said that question was from Year 3 at Jessup Primary School. It wasn't. It was actually, as you know, from Ollie James from the CBSO. But let's go now to another question for you. I won't predict who it's from, because I'll probably get it wrong. But let's have a second question that's been sent in for you, Sheku.
We are cellists from London Music Masters at Jessup Primary School. We have a question for Sheku. What's your favourite piece of cello music?
Lovely. Well, that was indeed Year 3 at Jessup Primary School. Look at them, all cellists there. They're really following in your footsteps, Sheku, and they want to know, what is your favourite piece of cello music? Do you have one?
From when I was about 4 or 5, I always used to listen to Jacqueline Dupre's recording of Elgar Cello Concerto, and I think that will forever be my favourite piece of music, let alone cello music. So
Really?
it's just an incredible piece of music.
Elgar's cello.
Really.
But in that particular recording of it with Sir John Barbaroli, was it not on podium?
Yeah, exactly. That's my favourite recording of the piece, and it's something that I always listen to. It's just really incredible.
I've said on Classic FM, because we've played other recordings of it, and I've said that recording may have been equal, but it's never been bettered. She found something in that I think no one had at that stage, up till that stage, found before. And whenever it's recorded now, it's measured against that. What is it about that particular recording that makes it so special?
I think it's just such a natural and passionate approach to the music. And if you look at what's actually marked in the scores, it's very different often than what's actually written on the page. And I think that's, but everything she does just makes so much sense. So she's not doing things differently from what's written. She's just approaching the music in such a natural way.
What always fascinates me is all a composer can do is put ink markings on a piece of paper. And 100 musicians can look at those markings and play them in a different way, interpret them in a different way. So
yeah, that's such a wonderful thing. And I think I would always encourage people to really think about what's really said through the music and the harmonies and things, because as you say, the composer has very little to really tell you, and so you just have to kind of...
Yes. It's a foregone conclusion that one day you will record that piece. When do you think you might be ready to do that? Because I know that's not something you're going to embark on next week, is it?
It's not, yeah. I'm actually learning it now for the first time, which I'm really, really enjoying. And I've got a few performances of it next month, and we'll see how they go and stuff. But yeah,
you're going to perform it?
I'm going to perform it, yeah. It's such a joy to finally come to learning this piece that I've loved for so long.
Is it the Elgar cello concerto? Is it the pinnacle for cellists, or would you rate the Dvorak, say, as highly as that, or the Shostakovich, which you've recorded on your new album?
I think, I think there are many really great cello concertos, but I think for me the greatest is the Elgar concerto. But I'm a massive fan of the Haydn concertos and the Shostakovich concerto, of course, as well. And so, yeah, I look forward to working on these pieces in the future.
Vast
as well,
repertoire for you to explore, because there's such a popularity of composers loved writing for it. Boccherini, for instance, wrote lots of cello concertos.
Wonderful
as well.
cello concertos, yeah.
Right, now we've got another question for you, and I think I can predict that this is from the Klezmer group from Trinity School, which is from the secondary school that you attended. Is that right?
That's right.
Let's hear their question for you, Sheku.
What's your Hogwarts house?
Good, aren't they? Lovely. What's your Hogwarts house? I suspect you know more about that question than I do.
I'm actually a massive fan of Harry Potter. So I would say my Hogwarts house would be Gryffindor, because they're meant to be brave, and I could say I'm quite brave sometimes.
Lovely.
So, yeah.
Great. Now, listen, the questions are flooding in from listeners, viewers watching us now on Facebook. So here's a good question for you, Sheku, from Keris Susanna Weech. Apart from classical music, what other music do you like to listen to?
I'm a massive fan of reggae. So I listen to lots and lots of Bob Marley and other artists. I'm also a big fan of Dr. Dre's music, which is some great music as well, and I listen to quite a lot of jazz as well.
Do you think it's important for a musician not to become, as it were, sort of in a straitjacket of one form of music only?
I just think, as I say, I just love to listen to really, really good music, and I think the genre is not so important. And even within classical music, we kind of think of it as one thing, but there's such a range within even classical music. So there's just so much great music out there.
I heard Andrew Lloyd Webber on Classic FM actually a couple of weekends ago. He said there aren't different kinds of music. There's only good music and bad music. And that's actually true.
There is
isn't
some
it?
truth in that, yeah, definitely.
Lovely. So you like your classics, you like reggae, you like jazz, you like all kinds. So that's a good answer there. And here's one from Gonzalo Gionelli. I'm not sure where you're watching us, Gonzalo. Maybe, I don't know, is that an Italian name? But it's a good question, this, Sheku. Who is your favourite living cellist?
That's a very good question.
It is, yes.
I would say I'm a massive fan of Yaya Ma's playing.
Yes.
And particularly his Bach suites, which are some of my favourite pieces of music in the world as well. And I've never seen him live, which is something that I really want to see before it's too late. But he's an amazing cellist and someone I really look up to.
Yeah, he does play all kinds, doesn't he? I mean, I think I've heard him play film music as well as John Williams's film, 6 Years in Tibet or whatever that film was called. Not a particularly memorable film, but a wonderful theme for cello and orchestra.
Yeah.
And as you say, the Bach's cello suites. They are are they the pinnacle for the solo cello?
Yeah, I think there's a whole world within these 6 suites. And I think there's not a day when I don't discover something new in these pieces of music. They're just really incredible.
Yeah, how did Bach do it? Let's actually talk about that. Here is the new album. This is Sheku's debut album. It's actually out on Friday, 2 days from now. So we're ahead of the game here. Wonderful selection of pieces here. Everything, as you said earlier, from Shostakovich to Bob Marley. How did you've called it inspiration. So all these pieces inspired you in one way or another. Talk me through some of them. Why, for instance, Bob Marley and Leonard Cohen, which we've heard before, we've heard you play?
Yeah, so, as I said, the pieces are all pieces that I have always loved and really inspired me to be the musician that I am today. And Bob Marley, I grew up listening to his music in the car with my parents. So I've always loved his music, and it was just, I had such fun kind of coming up with an arrangement of his music for solo cello, which I think works really beautifully and still has that beautiful melody that Bob Marley sings, but adds a cello vibe to it, I guess.
I played that track actually on my show on Classic FM the other day, actually last week, and I said it sounds to me like 4 or 5 cellos playing.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you achieve that?
I don't know. I mean, there are 4 strings. So.
Yes.
I guess, but and then the Shostakovich Concerto is the kind of main work on the album, and it's a piece that I love playing, I love listening to, and it takes you on such an emotional journey. So you kind of are both kind of physically, mentally, and everything kind of drained after playing and listening to that piece, and it's just such a wonderful piece of music.
I'll tell you a question I'd like to ask you. I mean, why the cello? What was it? I mean, you were very young when you first picked up a cello. Why not the violin or the piano or whatever? Why the cello? What was it that first turned you onto the cello?
Yeah, I actually started on the violin.
Oh, did you?
So I played the violin for a few months, and probably sounded awful. I can imagine. I have an older brother who's a violinist as well, and I think I just wanted to be cooler and play bigger and better instruments. So I saw an orchestral concert and got really excited by the sound of the cello section, and have loved it ever since. And I think it was a good choice. I'm told some horrible stories of my violin playing, so I think it was definitely a good choice.
And does he now tease you with the old joke, you'll never get that under your chin?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me about your other siblings. How many instruments between you do you all play?
Yeah, so we all play piano. So I started on the piano, so we all play piano. And then my older sister plays viola. My brother's a violinist. I have 2 sisters who play the violin as well. And then 2 sisters who both play the cello as well. So it's, cello, violin, viola, and piano are the instruments.
Is there rivalry between you?
I don't think there is. I think because we're all at different stages and different ages, there's no kind of direct competition in that sense, and we all give each other advice and help each other, and I think for me, that was a great environment to grow up in. And
do you practice together, or do you have your own little corners or rooms that you go into?
Yeah, I mean, the house is always noisy, and I think for me, I had to get used to being able to practice with a piano next door and a violin screeching next door as well. So it's something I got used to, but It's
I was about to say, what about your poor mum and dad? But they're obviously, it's not poor mum and dad, very proud mum and dad, I'd imagine.
Yeah, maybe, but poor mum and dad a lot of the time as well. as well. But yeah, I think they enjoy music, and they, especially when I was younger, used to help me with my practice and be patient with listening to me, and that was really important.
And
as
are
well.
they musical? Do they accompany you at all at the piano, your mum or your dad, or is it another of your siblings that will do that?
Yeah, because they went on to do other things, they don't have time to practice. I remember once my dad accompanied me for a competition when I was about 9. That was a lot of fun, but I think that's the only time I've played with him.
Now, I want you to give me another little demonstration because it's such a lovely instrument. I'm not often in the presence of a 400 or 500-year-old instrument. It's been said that the cello has the range closest to the human voice. So you can go from very deep to very high, up into the violin register, down into the double bass register. Would that be correct?
Yeah, it
So
has.
show me.
It has an amazingly huge range, and I love the difference between and the kind of middle register. So there's just so many different sounds you can get out of this.
Those last
box.
notes, I know those. They're called harmonics, aren't they?
Yeah, so
and
I
if you
just-
don't touch the string in exactly the right place, you don't get a note. And I
had
remember
some-
struggling on the violin.
I've had some
Show me again.
yeah.
Just show me how it should be done.
So yeah, I've had some, something that I really needed to practice, and I've had some big nightmares with this. In the Shostakovich concerto, actually,
Yes.
in the second movement, there's a wonderful bit where it's a duet between the harmonics and the celeste. And that's one of the most scary and fragile movements of the concerto. So yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful moment as well.
Amazing, lovely, lovely instrument. Your life has changed just very slightly in the last year, 18 months. How are you handling it? How are you coping with this sudden exposure? I remember I saw a lovely program on television about you and your family, and Julian Lloyd Webber, no mean cellist himself, said that what Sheku needs to do now is cut out the noise that comes with what he's doing and concentrate on the instrument. How are you coping, Sheku?
I think, yeah, I'm in a wonderful position because I'm studying. I'm in my first year studying at the Royal Academy of Music. And so I'm constantly surrounded by other musicians who are always working hard and practicing. And I have a wonderful new teacher as well who always stretches me and challenges me. And so it's in that environment, it's very difficult to get distracted, I think. And so I'm just really enjoying going deeper with the music that I'm playing. And I think that's the most important thing.
And with public performances as well, so you're learning about what it's like to be under the lights, like even in here, and playing and being judged. It can be nerve-wracking.
It definitely can be nerve-wracking. That's definitely true. But I think performing is something that I'm very used to because from a very young age I would perform even just to my family all the time, and I think that's something that I just love doing, and the pieces that I'm working on are always pieces that I love, and I just love to share them with people. So
So what's the way forward for you, Sheku? You're, as you say, you're a student at the Royal Academy of Music, pretty fine institution. You have your debut album out the day after tomorrow,
Yes.
which I can assure you we will be playing on Classic FM. What is the immediate, what does the next year hold for you as far as you know?
Lots of practice.
Yes.
Which I'm looking forward to, and lots of wonderful performances and some really great places around the world. So really looking forward to all of that, and I'm exploring lots of new repertoire. So the Elgar Concerto, Brahms Sonata, Bach sonatas, and yeah, I enjoy that the most. I think just learning new pieces and really going deeper with the composers and the music.
So I'm going to imagine now you have someone watching you, be it a boy or a girl, aged 6 or 7 or 8, watching you now who feels the same inspiration for learning the cello that you felt at that age. Just give them a really personal piece of advice.
I would say to continue to enjoy it, and I think listening to as much music and to as much cello music if you're a cellist, or violin music if you're a violinist, is something that really inspired me. and I'm sure will inspire you also.
And play any kind of music that interests you, whatever the style.
Definitely.
Sheku, it's been an absolute joy talking to you. Play us out with an illustration on that beautiful instrument of yours of just what it's capable of doing. I'll let you choose the piece. It doesn't even have to be a piece. It can just be scales or broken chords or whatever. But just give us a demonstration of what a lovely sound that instrument can make.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I often say on classic FM, it doesn't have to be fast and furious to be impressive. Sometimes slower is more difficult to play, to get that emotion across. That was absolutely beautiful. And I have a little piece of good news for you. Guess who's watching here on Facebook?
Oh, I don't know.
Your mum.
Oh, lovely.
And she says, Sheku, I am proud of you.
Oh,
Isn't
bless
that
her.
lovely? We
Thank
are
you.
delighted to have had you here in the Facebook headquarters in London, Sheku. Thank you so much. I look forward to playing this new album on Classic FM. Really has been a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for watching. Thank you.
Thank you.